The corridor was dim, lit only by tired fluorescent bulbs that flickered like they were fighting sleep themselves. Alina hurried down the row of identical white doors, still catching her breath after running from the parking lot. Her sister's frantic voice message echoed in her mind. "Please, Alina, they need the documents tonight. Room 312, hurry." She spotted a 3, and pushed open the door without checking the rest of the number. Her fingers were cold around the envelope she carried, her nerves frayed from a long day of work and worry. Inside, the room felt different from what she expected, too quiet, too still. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of disinfectant mixed with something sharper, more expensive, like cologne clinging to the walls. The lights were low, shadows stretching across the floor in soft shapes. A single monitor beeped steadily. At first, she didn't even look at the patient. She was too busy trying to calm her breathing, smoothing her hair, reminding herself she could drop off the envelope and leave in under a minute. Then she heard a shift. Fabric moving, a breath caught, the slightest rustle of sheets. Her eyes snapped toward the bed. The man lying there wasn't her sister's colleague. He wasn't anyone she expected to see in a hospital room at all. His presence was like a jolt of electricity through her veins. Dark hair tousled against the pillow. A lean, sharply cut jaw. A bandage wrapped around his arm, an IV line trailing from his wrist. Eyes half open, but alert, more alert than someone recovering should be. And those eyes were focused entirely on her. Alina froze. Her spine locked in place, her heartbeat tripping over itself. Her mind scrambled to catch up with what her eyes were telling her. Adrian Hale. She recognized him instantly. Everyone would. The media called him the ghost CEO, because he rarely appeared in public, but when he did, entire industries listened. Billionaire, innovator, untouchable, a man whose face lived on magazine covers and whose name lived on contracts. Yet here he was, staring at her like she wasn't a stranger at all. He didn't speak at first. He simply watched her with an intensity that made her feel exposed, as though he were reading something written across her skin. Finally, in a voice low and rough from injury, or something else, he said, "You're not supposed to be here." Alina opened her mouth, but no words came. Her breath caught somewhere between apology and disbelief. She clutched the envelope tighter, suddenly unsure why she'd come in, why she hadn't noticed the wrong number, why her feet had carried her here so naturally. "Sorry," she managed. "I think I entered the wrong room." His expression didn't change. If anything, it sharpened. "No," he murmured. "You entered exactly the right one." Alina's pulse hammered so loudly she was afraid he could hear it. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air thickening with the weight of his words. She should have backed away, apologized again, slipped out before he asked who she was, or worse, called a nurse. But she couldn't move. It was as if the floor had turned to glue beneath her shoes. Adrian shifted, pushing himself upright with a quiet groan of pain. The movement forced the blankets to fall slightly, revealing the edge of a fresh bandage along his ribs. Even injured, he carried a presence that radiated authority, as though the walls themselves adjusted to accommodate him. He didn't take his eyes off her. "You're not one of the nurses," he said softly, the statement sounding more like an observation than a question. "No," she whispered, trying to steady her breath. I walked into the wrong room. I'm sorry. I'll leave." "You won't." The quiet certainty in his voice stopped her more effectively than if he'd shouted. Something about the way he said it, calm, sure, as if he were stating a fact he'd known long before she stepped inside, sent a tremor down her spine. She swallowed hard. "Why? You don't even know me." He studied her, leaning back against the pillows with the measured composure of a man used to assessing people, employees, rivals, board members, with a single look. But this wasn't business. His gaze wasn't calculating. It was searching. "I don't know your name," he admitted. "Or why you're here." A faint smirk tugged at the corner of his lip. "But I know you." Alina's stomach tightened. "That makes no sense." He didn't argue. Instead, he took a slow breath, as if choosing each word carefully. "I've seen your face before," he said. "Too many times for this to be an accident." Her skin prickled. She glanced at the door, at the hallway beyond it, at anything to avoid the intensity of his stare. She needed to leave. This was surreal, impossible. He was exhausted, drugged, confused. That had to be it. Adrian saw the doubt flicker across her expression. You think I'm delirious? A little, she admitted. He didn't take offense. If anything, his eyes softened. Something rare, something vulnerable. Then answer me this, he murmured. If you were so sure this was the wrong room, why didn't you walk out the second you saw me? Her breath caught. She didn't have an answer. Adrian angled his head, watching her with a quiet, unsettling understanding. Because you feel it, he said. The pull, the familiarity. He paused. Even if you don't want to. Her hands trembled around the envelope. Her voice barely surfaced. I don't feel anything. I just made a mistake. He smiled faintly, like someone hearing a lie gently delivered but easily seen through. No, he murmured. You walked here, straight to me. The soft beep of the heart monitor filled the silence stretching between them. Alina finally managed to step back, her breath unsteady. I really should go. Adrian's expression didn't falter, but something inside his gaze deepened, like recognition settling into place. You can go, he said quietly. But you'll come back. His confidence hit her harder than any accusation. And when you do, he added, voice barely above a whisper, I'll finally tell you why I've been waiting for you. The silence in the room felt alive, humming with something she couldn't name. Alina's fingers tingled, her heartbeat uneven as she stared at the man in front of her. A powerful CEO, a stranger, someone who lived in a world she would never touch, yet his gaze held her like they were the only two people in existence. He didn't look away, not even for a second. Her mind scrambled for logic. Medication, head injury, exhaustion, anything that made more sense than what he was saying. You're imagining things, she said, forcing the words out even though her throat felt tight. You don't know me. Adrian's lashes lowered slightly as he studied her. Slow, deliberate, like he was memorizing each feature. I do, he murmured. Not your name, not your story. His voice softened, dropping an octave. But I know your face. His certainty rattled her more than if he'd shouted. Alina shook her head. You've never met me. I didn't say we had. His voice was calm, but something in it trembled just beneath the surface, as if he was standing on the edge of admitting something he himself didn't fully understand. But I've seen you, over and over. Her breath caught. Where? A flicker passed through his eyes, like a memory brushing against him. Dreams, he whispered, night after night, for months. Her stomach flipped, cold and disoriented. Dreams. That wasn't possible. Men like him didn't dream about women like her. They barely existed in the same universe. That's not real, she said quietly. Maybe not. His gaze moved slowly from her eyes to her lips, then back up, almost like he was checking if she was real at all. But you walked into my room as if you knew exactly where to find me. Her pulse jumped. She stepped back, only half a step, but he noticed. He raised a hand, not to touch her, not even fully extended. Just a gesture, slow, gentle, palm facing her. A silent, hesitant offering. He stopped inches from her arm. Close enough that she felt his warmth, even though his skin never made contact. Tell me you don't feel it, he said. The air thickened between them, charged with something neither of them had words for. Her breath trembled. She wanted to deny it, to turn and run and pretend the moment hadn't wrapped itself around her like a net. But her body betrayed her before her voice could. A shiver ran through her. A small, involuntary step forward. Her lungs stilled. Adrian exhaled like he'd been holding his breath the entire time. There it is, he whispered. She jerked her gaze away, heat rising in her cheeks. It doesn't mean anything, she insisted, though the tremor in her voice gave her away. It means everything, he said softly. Her heartbeat stumbled. You're delirious. Then why? He murmured. Do you look at me like you've seen me before too? She didn't realize she had been. Not until he said it. And when she tried to deny it, her lips wouldn't form the words. Her throat felt too tight. Her thoughts were a tangle of disbelief and something frighteningly close to recognition. A sensation she didn't want, didn't ask for, but couldn't shake. Adrian's eyes held hers, steady, unwavering, almost pleading. I don't know what this is, he admitted, voice low. But I know I'm not the only one feeling it. She hated how much that frightened her. And how much it thrilled her. The heart monitor beeped steadily between them, counting a rhythm that no longer belonged to either of them alone. The hallway outside buzzed faintly with life, nurses rolling carts, distant conversations, the soft click of shoes against polished floors. But inside the room, the world felt muted, as if someone had closed a door on reality and left her standing in a different, quieter universe. Alina's breath came unevenly. The warmth of Adrian's almost touch still lingered on her skin, ghost-like, impossible to ignore. She took another step back, needing distance, needing air, needing the strange gravity between them to loosen. "This is a mistake," she whispered. The words felt small, fragile, nothing like the certainty she wished they carried. Adrian didn't flinch. He watched her with the calm of someone who had predicted her reaction long before it happened. His bandaged arm rested on the sheets, but his posture held an unshakable steadiness, as though even injured he couldn't be moved by anything except the truth he believed he saw in her. "Maybe," he said quietly. "But I've learned something about mistakes." His gaze darkened, contemplating her with a strange sort of tenderness. "Some of them are just detours that lead exactly where you're meant to go." Her stomach tightened. She turned toward the door. She needed to leave. Every instinct told her that staying meant stepping into something she wasn't prepared to face. Her hand hovered near the handle, but her fingers refused to curl around it. Just one touch and she could be free of this room. Free of him. Free of whatever impossible moment this was threatening to become. "Why this room?" Adrian asked behind her. His voice was soft, but it stopped her more effectively than a shout. She looked back at him, her breath lodged in her chest. "What? Why this room?" he repeated, eyes locked onto hers. "Out of all the rooms on this floor, why did your feet lead you here?" "It was an accident," she insisted, even though the words felt thinner now, less convincing. "I misread the number." "No one misreads a 6-room difference without realizing," he murmured. Her heartbeat thudded painfully. She forced herself to glance at the plaque outside. Room 318, not 312. The wrong hallway. The wrong turn. The wrong everything. So why had it felt so natural? Adrian leaned back against the pillows, closing his eyes for a moment as if grounding himself. When he opened them again, there was something raw in his expression. Not vulnerability exactly, but something close. "Come back tomorrow." Her pulse jumped. "I shouldn't, but you will." His confidence wrapped around her like a quiet, dangerous prediction, one that felt less like a request and more like something carved into fate. Alina shook her head, struggling to steady her voice. "You don't know that." He held her gaze, unblinking. "I do." She hated the way her chest tightened at his certainty, the way something unnamed tugged her back toward him even as logic screamed at her to run. "You'll come back," he repeated, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Because this isn't over." A shiver ran through her. She backed out of the room, finally, painfully, but even as the door swung shut between them, her legs trembled with the terrible, undeniable realization. He was right. This wasn't over. Not even close.